Okay, it is 6 o'clock and we're going to go ahead and start the town council work meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, 2026, and it's straight up 6 o'clock. So this is just a work meeting and as you guys know that at work meetings, we don't vote on anything. We just discuss what's coming up at the meeting next week where we will be voting. However, we've got a couple of things on the agenda tonight that will not be voting on. They're just presentation. First one up is a presentation on this wildfire urban interface revisions to the wildfire urban interface law, which were in HB 48. So I understand, Randy, that you're what? Were you about to say something?
No.
You weren't, you were just clearing your throat? Okay. I thought you were clearing your throat because you wanted to say something. Okay, Randy, I believe you are going to be doing the presentation on this, and just so you guys know, our, what? What? I thought you were doing a presentation. That's why you're here. Fine. Did you want to do an introduction first before we get going?
Well, I think you've covered it well, Mayor, but yes,
Okay.
we do have our emergency manager, Randy Hiller, who will introduce our guests, who will make a presentation on the new changes in the law. Thank you.
Okay, so before you do that, yet again, audiovisual issues with our equipment, our brand new equipment, and where we would have had a laptop attached right there at the podium that would show the slideshow that you're going to be doing. It's not working. The connection's not working. So what's your name? Crystal. Crystal over there. Sorry, I was having a brain fart. Crystal has the slideshow queued up and is going to be doing the slides. You'll have to say next slide so that she can change. Okay. All right, Randy, do your introduction.
Nancy is with the County Emergency Services. She is the wildland fire specialist, right? She also just came back from a presentation on the Genesis project to Springdale. So
Oh, that we just saw the project presentation last week. Okay. No, we had it at the mayor's meeting.
Oh, but she just back from Springdale. Next is up is Heber Hyder. He is the county fire warden.
Okay.
And we have Chief Dave Harmon. He's doing the WUI presentation.
Oh, you will be doing the presentation. Okay. And you guys are here for moral support and any questions? Okay. Okay. So you guys are all with the Washington County Emergency Management Department, not the fire department. You are. Okay. You are. Okay. All right. Okay. She's the cat. Got it. Okay. So we had a Genesis presentation at a mayor's meeting last week. And I know, was it you that did the presentation? Okay. And there was a proposal to come to different town councils and do a presentation to the town council on what that is. So we could set something up before you leave tonight. Okay? Okay. All right. Go for it. Dave, right? Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll be talking about HB 48, a little bit about HB 41, make some changes to HB 48, and vote that. This is what we talk about. The town also needs to, along with HB 48, develop a WUI boundary, which we've discussed and talked about. Did I share a little map with you of just a proposed idea?
You did with Randy.
Okay.
When we met, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk about WUI boundary versus the high risk WUI. I'll give you some information, and then you guys feel free to put this on your town website if you want, because there's links in it that folks can click on and get more information. There's nothing, private in here, so that is more than fine. we'll show you the different some different hazardous fuels and how to mitigate them, and we'll just proceed.
Okay.
So defining the issue, what is the wildland urban interface? It is the zone where structures and other development meet or intermingle with undeveloped wildland or vegetative fields. So basically, man-made stuff, homes, buildings, infrastructure, getting out into the wildland, out into the woods, out into the desert. Any questions on that? So with HB 48, municipalities are supposed to, by January 1 of 2026, which is past us, adopt a WUI boundary for their municipality. That's what I'm working on with Randy and Mark. And that has to be adopted. That should have been adopted already. So we can still continue to work on that. I know Springdale just met tonight to adopt the WUI boundary I worked on with their city. And yeah, I can work with these two fine gentlemen and get you guys the boundary around Virgin. And that's up to you guys to specify where it is. I'm just what's called a subject matter expert, and I'll come in and validate everything and make sure it looks good, and then.
So when we specify where the WUI code will apply, it's right at the boundary, outside the.
It's everything
boundary?
outside of the boundary.
Outside.
Yep,
the boundary.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep, that is correct. And that's just, and so with HB 41, it's in the last not congressional, but our last,
Legislative.
thank you, politician, our last legislative session, HB 41 was adopted, presented, all those things, and did change a couple of things with HB 48. So now, historically, Utah went on the 2006 wildland urban interface code for this exact stuff, but now the state's adopted the 2024 International WUI Code. It's similar. I've got a document, I don't have it with me, but I will share it with these two. And just goes over the differences between more international code versus the 2006 Utah code. Very similar, but so those are some changes. So that's all the WUI zone. Now the high risk WUI is different. There's a picture in here, I'll show you later, but of all the high risk WUI in Virgin. The high risk WUI is what the state has built using a whole bunch of Landsat data, GIS type stuff, satellite imagery of where the high risk WUI is in every community and everywhere in the state. And those are the red polygons on some maps I'll show you here shortly, but the goal behind the high risk WUI is to get people active and proactive at doing some mitigation around their homes if they're in a high fire danger area. And that goes along with like home hardening and maintenance around your property with hazardous fuels. And folks that live in a high risk WUI be assessed a fee starting in 2027 based on the square footage of their structure. And 2027, it's $20, 3,000 square feet. 3,001 square feet, 6,000 square feet will be $60. Anything 6,001 above will be $100. So that's 2027.
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that a yearly fee, a monthly fee, annual fee? So that WUI boundary can be within the town
A high risk
boundary,
WUI.
anywhere within the town, depending on, and who determines that?
So the state determined that.
Okay.
State grant, then HB 48 went into law, that was when the state forestry fires. And like I mentioned earlier, they got all this data from satellite imagery and things like that. This map, fuels and structure density, how much structure for a given area, that goes into it as well. That answers your question.
It did, and I have one more.
Yeah.
So, are those available on a website that we can look at? Okay,
It's in here.
okay. Thank you.
Great question.
So before you go on, I would ask you to make sure his was off. Is it off or on? No, turn it off, because it echoes. There's an echo when you get near the microphone. Okay. All right.
So do you want us to turn them off or what?
He said it's echoing with the car microphones are off. Because it was echoing the last night playing.
Yeah, I discovered it, that's how I stopped at the last time, was you turned off our, not the video.
Okay, all right. Then it all echoes in the car. Okay,
But,
So that's, okay, so the fees will be assessed in 2027, and then moving forward, 2028, the state has hired for 4 people to do these assessments, right, throughout the state. There's something like 8,000 structures that fall in this hazardous group. So the state hired 40. About do these assessments. And so when that training is available, people like me and my staff. I would assume, you guys probably have to remember Firewise, but the point to assume Firewise standards, NFPA will be very close to what the assessment. And then folks, people have to actually request the assessment themselves.
So if they request an assessment, do they have to pay for it separately? Okay. The same fee that you're talking about. Okay.
The state is supposed to take that, yeah, I'm not pointing either, who's working the state, but the state is supposed to somehow let people know whether it's a letter or an email. They're supposed to be getting some information out to those folks that are. You know if that's happened yet? Fair enough. No problem, no. Okay, we can go on to the next one. So this is some work I've done with Springdale. I worked with Tom Dancy up there and said, just get on the work, draw a line in the sand, I'll go walk it. So he came up with this boundary, so they just floated on tonight, I believe. Maybe. They were talking about this stuff. So this is their woolly boundary that Tom came up with, which we put a little bit here and there. And I went and ground truth that whole thing, and it made sense. So everything outside of that red line will have to meet Louis code construction, which will be 2024. Okay, go to the next. And this is the Utah Forestry Fire and State Lands. This is a screenshot from their website. This is our 5 counties down here in the southwest. All those red polygons on there, that is the high risk wood. So that's when people will be assessed.
Those polygons?
Yeah, whatever shapes are called. Amoebas, blobs. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can go to the next one. This should be. Oh.
Yes.
This is zoomed in on
That version.
weeds. That's okay. It still shows. I fixed my PowerPoint to have, virgin on this slide. But
This is what one?
this is leads.
Oh, I see.
Yep. So all those red blobs, that's for folks who are living within those areas that they'll be assessed. Yeah. Yeah, and it's based on structure density. It's based on embers, because 90% of home emission and structure fires that start from a wildland fire are caused by animals. Yep. And fun fact, my fire station is gonna be assessed on fee. Oh,
Hmm.
we're right in the high risk. You go on the next one. It's still the red stuff. Ah. Yes. No. They don't have that stuff. They think it was fun.
We broke that, it came on one house.
I love the red sox by itself. We found one that was like the line was over like half. Maybe they'll be assessed half the. There are two other areas in Virgin, like on the, let's say it's south. West. Most extreme part of it, you're seeing one side of that speed of the wall.
Southwest, that's the one about.
Okay, so. This is, like I said, 3 reasons houses burn during a wildfire. 90% of it is from timber wash. And forest fires, range plant fires, there used to be a lot of embers and they skid. They go with the wind, and they land on anything they can and actually start a fire. So
They're going in and out.
they grow along, go in and out.
Another problem. I've already been texting them to call our problem. Oh, yeah, the reason out on them, I don't remember the. The what is that? No. He was in it. I don't think what it said.
So how can homeowners mitigate risk, by educating themselves? Making meetings, voicing the fire life assessments, working with subject matter experts on things like Peter or Bridget and myself. Be proactive, do the work now. That it may not help you do it during a wildfire event. And then do that fuels reduction on the property. We'll get into that. All right, so we talked about home emission zones. And there's three zones. Immediate, intermediate, and I don't know. But basically it's 0, so structure itself up to 5 feet. And then 5 to 30 feet, and then 30 feet to 100 feet. And when we talk about the home itself, we talk about home hardening structures, so like metal roofs, or tile roofs, or asphalt shingles are fine. Or if you have a flat roof like a lot of folks, there's a membrane that is put on with the Class A fire restricted material. Sealing anything that's wood, treat it with different chemicals or different things to that will adhere to it that is a will lessen the impact of the wash. Okay, keep going to the next. So the immediate zone at 0 feet. So from the structure itself out like that 0 to 5 feet, NFPA currently recommends having absolutely nothing is combusting. Here you go. 0 to 5 feet out. That includes foliage, plants, lawn furniture, patio furniture, whatever it may be. 0 to 5 feet.
This is every house in the town.
This is, yes, but this is just a recommendation. This is not, nobody has to do anything. We all still live in the United States of America. These are just recommendations. Go on to the next one. So this is a pretty good picture of the big thing, that's 0 to 5 feet other than that, the agave plants or whatever those are and stuff. But again, those kind of plants don't really propagate fire growth. They can burn like direct flames hit them, but once the flames are gone, it's not part. But that's just a good example right there of that 0 to 5 feet hardened with nothing under the deck. It's all rocked around the property. So next one. Then we go to the intermediate zone, that's 5 to 30 feet. So now we're getting out on the property. Here we're mostly looking for combustible material, whether it's natural fuels or man-made fuels, getting rid of that stuff, breaking up continuities and blow brush off the ground, Having spacing between canopies of trees and letting trees out, things like that, because it's a lot easier for us to fight fire when it's on the ground, 3 to 4 foot flame lengths. Than when it's in the canopy and you have a ground fire and now you're dealing with 100+ foot flame lengths, very difficult to fight those kind of fires. So, next. Then we have the extended zone 30 to 100 feet out again. This is just talking about manipulating the landscape, having pockets of fuel rather than consistent fuel for the fire around the group. There's pockets in the season forest that bring fires under control. Your canopy spacing is a little bit closer out at this range just because trees could avoid that. Look. So here's a good example of a property that's done, full out work out, so without wildland hurt in their face. With wildland pools all around, was fine, flash fields, all that grass that I see around the property, burn really fast. But property itself looks pretty darn good. It doesn't really look like a lot around the house, and then 0 to 5 feet, maybe some plants, but then get up on the property itself, it's good grass, tree spacing, excellent. The types of trees that are here, deciduous trees, they're not as problematic as trees in the fire. So, great example of what you can do. And this slide just shows the 3 different zones and what folks can kind of expect the property could look like if they did the work. Okay, go next. Again, tree spacing, and this is all based on flat ground, right? All these numbers, all this data. Yeah, it's slowly to it. Really makes things a lot more difficult. Fire is lazy, likes to burn uphill. Burns up a little faster than downhill typically. So for dealing with slow falling properties, then we're going to be looking at greater spacing of trees, breaking up those clumps of ground fields even more so. But this is all just based on flat. Next. So this is the real picture of somebody's property, and they're like, my house is catching burned out real fast, and then they did a lot of work and what the next picture. Oh, that's a lot of effort, it's a lot of work. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay, so we talked a little bit, I talked a little bit about home hardening previously, but Class A roofing, right? So concrete, clay tiles, metal, copper, slate, EPDM, that's that it's a membrane that folks put on their roofs that are flat. And that's a really good Class A material. Timber resistant vents, there's a lot of vents on homes, right? Most of them are somewhat timber resistant. What I tell folks is just go down to your local hardware store and get some window screen, cut it, manipulate it, and cover up all your vents, because that screen is a really tight mesh. I think the NFPA standard says 1/8 of an inch or less for your gaps in your screens. So if that screen definitely needs to aggregate on the metal. So I really it's cheap, fairly easy. We talked about non-combustible materials in the infrastructure at 0 to 5 feet. It's like a key where I show up and we're doing structural protection on the home. First thing we're doing is scattering stuff that's possible, getting it away from the home. Right? You may be doing some fields work as well. Get rid of those combustible materials. And then, for the walls of the home, the exterior of the home, stucco is great. Cinder block, concrete, whatever, but anything that's not harden the home and make it stand those embers. Success. A lot of propane tanks, people's homes. And again, the same thing goes for propane tanks. Clear out all the fuels around them. Put rock underneath them. And propane tanks are designed to withstand a lot of heat, but they can fail. There's a one-way valve that when that gas inside heats up and expands, so pressure relief itself to that valve, sometimes it was dead. Right, so. Any questions on that? All right, we talked about some common hazardous fuels that we see in our area. There's a list of them. I got some pictures, what they should kind of look like after they. Go on, next. So Utah juniper. There's multiple species of juniper. There's Rocky Mountain juniper. It typically grows in wetter areas, riparian areas. A lot of people can use it for seed treatment. Seed treatment stage. Alright, so this is Utah juniper. This tree is really problematic. Junipers are just terrible. They produce a ton of embers. They from fire stands. That's how they laugh when I said that. Or they probably got some here. But from the fire stands, they're terrible because they burn any time of year. They cast like a multitude of embers. They just burn really dirty, go out like a lot of embers. And a lot of them look like this where the limbs go all the way to the ground. Right? So we call that a ladder fuel. It goes close to the ground and imagine a ladder. Fire just going to climb up it. So next picture shows on this being mitigated, right? It's a different picture from a different tree from a different place, but this is a great example of mitigated tree. See, it's been limbed up, all those fuels, those ladder fuels are off the ground, and there's no fuel underneath. Right? So the fire can actually get to it. Embers can get to it, but not flames itself. So next. Pinyon pine, we got a lot of pinyon pine down here as well. Similar to junipers, they love to burn and they love to put a lot of embers in the air. And this one here, you know, it's again, it's got the ladder fuel all the way to the ground. Here's one that's been limbed up, fuels removed underneath it. Sagebrush. You got a lot of sagebrush and blackbush around here, right? And this is a pretty good picture of a continuous field of sagebrush. There was a fire burning out here and had even a 5-10 mile an hour wind on it. Increase that problem. So what we want to do is break up the continuity of those ground fields into clumps, right? And this is a good aerial picture taken of some fuels treatments, which you can see. Not only are they taking down the junipers in this picture, they're also breaking up that continuity of the sagebrush on the ground. Next. Man, cheatgrass. So this is non-native. I believe the Europeans brought it over when they were exploring. We looked at the history, but this cheatgrass is absolutely horrible. Because it's what we call a fine fuel, a 1 hour fuel. So it reacts to the weather conditions within an hour. Like if it just rained and then dries out, this would typically take about an hour to dry out and be available to burn. And the problem with cheatgrass too is that it is so invasive and it's so aggressive. Fire burn, cheatgrass can affect it. Fire burn in the same place, cheatgrass can affect it. Cheatgrass is really, really bad. It burns fast and the wind's blowing in the right conditions, and then if it gets into any other kind of fuel scape or whatever, it just creates a ladder fuel and it's just a bad fuel. It's kind of easy to get rid of because it doesn't root very deep, but seeds are very good. That's the problem. Next. HB48. So the big bullet points here, the important things here is fluid code adoption by all municipalities in the state by January 1, 2026, right? And then the high-risk fluid boundary that we talked about, the forestry fire and state lands divided. And then homeowners assess the fee in 2027. Initially, that was going to start this year, 2026, but HB 41. Smaller status, right? Just to give towns and people and the state more time to kind of get everything figured out before HB 40 gets going. like I said, the assessments for the homes have to be requested by the homeowners, and there's a link in there for that. And then, insurance agencies. I get a lot of questions about insurance, and I'm not an insurance employee, I don't know much about it. But insurance agencies are going to be looking at this, and scrutinizing it, and it's HB 48 is here to help citizens of Utah just do better at protecting their homes and their properties. There's been a lot of wildfires in the last 10, 15, 20 years that have wiped out entire towns, right? So this is just a way to try to help create some of that for our citizens. State. Okay, so when folks come out and do the assessments, they'll be triaged on 3-tiered scale, and high risk and very high risk. And that's how people will be assessed. The higher risk will be the lowest fee, inversely, the extreme risk will be the highest.
So these assessments are only on the highest.
In the higher risk, will be yeah. Doing something right, get some information. Each one. So, oh yeah, so this is just zoomed in. This is the higher school and that thing. I think I have a link to this website in here as well, but anybody can go to this website. And then what I've done is I typed in the address to the station 47 in Leeds, and you can see it's right where the dot is. That's right where the station is. We are in the high risk group. And a lot of believe it's
So I noticed on that a lot of the high risk was along the freeway, I-15. So does UDOT have responsibility to mitigate the risks? Mm-hmm.
I don't want to make you guys, we put you guys first, I'm not about to make you sit through the rest of our meeting, so we can fill out the date, we come to the census, get my presentation. So I'm looking at my calendar and, now, we have town council meeting on the 16th, but I'm assuming, well, you're just gonna do us new downtown, so. And any people who just happen to you, but we're not talking about presentation, like it's a town council, you know, type of. I'll do whatever you want to do. So, all the above, none of the above, half the above. But pretty flexible. Depends on how you guys wanna do that. I could do a town council meeting, you know, we can put it out on the website. If you were to do that, we can do the same thing on the website, they gave you this, or, okay. When you talk to them, instead of trying to set something before you leave, I will look up and see if maybe we'll grab it with my as opposed to a presentation. No, more people to get the app and use it. That's our hope. Okay, and if you don't have my contact, he does. I do in the meeting last week. And yes, we do. Yeah. Absolutely. So, however you want to do it, available. If I'm not available, Jason will come up to do it. We might do his thing on standard for count. Okay. All right. Thank you both. Thank you all of you.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
I guess you went to Springdale and then you said, well, we're right here. It just happened to work. I got scheduled at Springdale and then I got an email from him and he's like, hey, by the way, and I was like, you do this. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you, Dave. Appreciate it.
The ordinances from and I noticed when I was reviewing the ordinances that one of the ordinances, even though it's in here for us to look at, they did not vote on it last night.
But I went ahead and looked at it. Is that one still on? Oh, okay. I went ahead and looked at it, even though they're still working on it. But anyway, Mark's gonna talk to us about the ordinances from Planning Commission last night.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. So yeah, following up on last night's Planning Commission, I did provide a brief update in an email today, but I'll just run through that quickly. If you recall, Council had recommended the removal of shuttle stops as a use to get a recommendation, and the Planning Commission was prepared to recommend that to the council, and unfortunately, the wrong shuttle stop ordinance was posted for the hearing, so we're going to have to rehear that. It was actually the original one that defined shuttle stops, if you recall that one, and then later
And that was like from July of last year. I mean, that one's old.
that
That's
yeah
a-
that
that's-
related to the park and ride
Yeah.
this spring. So stay tuned. That will come back to you, and I expect a recommendation to approve. Then the mayor had alluded to another ordinance related to accessory structures and standards for those structures. Held a public hearing last night, had some brief discussion about it, but they'll did not vote on it, and they will continue to discuss it at their work meeting and consider it at the following regular meeting. And then last, they had previously held a public hearing on the Joint Utility Committee ordinance, which we discussed at a previous work session. Council had referred that for recommendation, and the commission recommends that with no revisions. So the council can discuss it further tonight, of course, and consider adoption at next week's meeting. So with that, I'll just open it up for questions on the JUC or any of the ordinances that were considered last night.
On the JUC, I read that I didn't have any, I had no questions. I did not note any questions on that.
Now, just a question of how things work. Without approval being sent by planning and zoning to us, should we or should we not discuss those items without their approval?
Oh, you mean, for example, the one on the accessory structures? I don't
Correct.
have any reason whatsoever that we can't go ahead and talk about it. And they can
Oh,
take into
sure.
consideration what
Yeah,
we
you
say.
could still,
There's nothing
Mhm.
stopping us from
Yeah.
talking about it.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that when it comes to us with their recommendation, we can make changes.
No.
And if we don't. wanna
Totally.
make
I just
changes,
want to
might as
make,
well tell them what we think.
just be clear.
yeah,
That's
that's
all.
a good question.
No, I think you can feel free to go ahead and make whatever comments you want on it. And then, the open space, shuttle stop, I didn't have any. Yeah, the only thing I had any, comments on was the,
Accessory structures.
oh, no, I did have something on the shuttle stop ordinance, which is the first one in the three. The way we have the amendment to the commercial code and the highway resort code zone. I just have a question if this is going to work from Unicode when we send it to them to have them amend the town code, if the way it's written is actually going to work for them to say, oh, I see what they're supposed to do, which is just go delete this use of shuttle stop from the online list of uses.
Right.
So I just wasn't sure. And that's really something I'm going to have to call Unicode and ask them
Sure.
if that'll work for them.
Yeah, understood.
And then I noticed that on the ordinance, it does not have filled in the date of which they had their public hearing on the shuttle stop. That's on the same page, page 1,
Right, and that will come
when we get it.
to you, yeah, because they're gonna have to rehear it.
Who's going to?
They'll,
Oh,
the-
planning commission, because they
yeah,
have
they'll have
do
to
it again.
rehear it because we need to post the correct notice.
Before it goes back to them next month, I'll see if I can get Unicode on the
Sure.
phone and on the horn and see if I can get them to answer if this is good enough for them or if they need it to be reformatted.
Okay.
Just from a public standpoint, it's probably better if you had the section and it strike out.
Exactly.
I
The
mean,
list of uses.
For
and
the
draft-
public to realize what's going on,
Sure.
I think that's a better drafting method.
I think so too. But I was like, this is gonna require Unicode to read this
And find it and, yeah.
and interpret that they're supposed to go to that section and delete that use. And so I'm just not sure that this will work for Unicode, for them to do their thing. So I'll find out and get an answer before it goes back to planning commission.
So I have a comment on the JUC. It discusses having the community development director administrate that, and
But if you read, did you read, the staff report that is attached to it? Because it says it's going to go through and, change that pursuant to our discussion last week.
oh, okay.
It's,
No, I didn't.
oh yeah. if
Yes,
you
I
read
didn't.
Riker staff report, it says they're going to change that.
Okay.
Yeah, if I may address that, based on the town attorney's recommendation on the grading ordinance,
Yes.
because we haven't formally established the position of community development director, he suggested we change those references to town manager until such time as we formally create the community development director position.
So April, if you look here at his staff report,
Mhm.
the bottom paragraph on page 1
Okay.
is where he says they're going to change that.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah. So they'll make that change before it comes to us on Tuesday next week for us to vote on this.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else, April?
No, that was all.
Anybody else with anything on the shuttle stop or the JUC? We'll go back and talk about the accessory structure in just a minute.
The only thing I was curious about the shuttle stops was it said if something would be grandfathered in. Do we have any shuttle stops that will be grandfathered?
Every single CUP for Zion White Bison contained a use for a shuttle stop.
Oh,
Every single parcel. That's the only place in town that's got a CUP that had a shuttle stop as a use that was granted.
okay.
But no, nobody else has a shuttle stop.
So I wonder, are they really considering having several shuttle stops there? I mean, it
I
doesn't
have no
really
idea.
make sense, but they do have that in their
It's
CUPs, I
in
guess.
every single one of their
Okay.
CUPs.
Okay.
And to add to that, that's where the park and ride is located
Yes.
as well. So
I went past there today and there were 2 RVs in there. I would have thought there would be
More.
many more because of the new,
It's gonna take a while for
I
that
wondered,
to
yeah.
get known.
yes.
yeah,
And plus the park is pretty quiet right now.
Is it?
I was up there riding, I don't know, Monday afternoon. It was pretty quiet.
Okay, so on the accessory structure ordinance, I just had I have an issue I'm gonna ask Riker to research. I'm going to point it out to you guys because it's, I think, going to be an issue. So Crystal, if you would go to that screen I had for that, the code, state code. Go to share screen. Safari, Utah code 1090, see it? That one. Okay. Scroll up to the top of this. Yeah, I turned it off just to the bottom.
Right here on the side. Because mine's working now.
Okay.
Well, it
you
was,
spoke
now
too
it's not.
soon.
It was working.
Okay,
Okay.
so
It must be your screen. Mine was working fine when yours is turned off.
okay, if you look at this section here, this 1020-904, which has to do with the limit on fees, and I was looking at this for when we get to the discussion where we're talking about fees. But it says up here right above this, it says affected by 63I-2-210 on 7/1/2027, so July of next year. And if you click on that 63I, I'm going to show you what it says. I want you guys to see what this, yes, just click on it. Really?
firewall.
I don't know why it's saying that, because that must be our
Firewall.
firewall.
It's my thought.
Because I was on this, I could go on it right now on this, and
On
it's
your
not
phone,
doing that.
yeah.
Okay, never mind then. We're not gonna talk about it since it's, that's yet another issue for now for Wessels.
What's the citation?
63I-2-210.
Oh, we'll do it later.
Okay. So if you guys would go and look at that, and I'm wondering how that's going to affect this proposed ordinance on accessory structures. And I was looking at it because of fees, and I wanted to see what is this 63I, and when I went to it, they've got a section that it's going to, is it coming up on your screen? No, your iPad.
On my iPad, yeah.
Okay,
63I 2210.
yes.
Well, that's supposed to be repealed.
Yes. But it's not, it's not this, it's this section right here. Go back to where you were. Section 2. Oh, that's not what I saw. Where's 210? Go to 210.
All right, right here.
Oh, your finger's too fat.
Yeah, my finger's too fat.
There's two of them.
There's 2 of them. 26, structure height.
It's repealed July 1st.
2027.
Just go
2027.
and go click on that. And that's about to be repealed.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean? That we can't
don't
regulate
know.
that?
We've got,
I'm gonna have Riker, research that.
well, we have until.
We have until July of next year.
And maybe we can get the legislature to change it somewhat.
That's what I'm thinking. We need to approach the legislature, say, don't change this. You need to,
Unless they made that change in response to what we did.
well, I think they made that change in response to people wanting affordable housing.
Oh, I don't know. Oh,
Oh, you see what I'm saying?
Multi-unit housing, is that what you mean?
Yeah, and I think that was repealed. I think this thing is being repealed. What this link goes to, this 63I-2-210. When you click on it, and of course, we're not going to it right here because of our firewall, I guess. But when I went it to go look at and see what it was, and when I saw this 10-26-26, and I looked at it and I went, oh no, surely they're not serious about repealing that. And because if so, then that's going to affect this accessory structure ordinance.
yeah.
Well, other ordinance that we all
And all of
also
our other
have.
ordinances, but this one that we're working on right now, it will affect this.
So we'll have to try to get a clarification and if the intent is affordable housing, you can
Yes.
adjust that somewhat.
So that's why I made a note here on there that for the accessory structures, I'm gonna have Riker research that. But then besides that, I had on page, I don't know. Mine says 7 and 16, pages 7 and 16 both on there. Number 6, where it says building permit required. It says a building permit is required for all accessory structures unless expressly exempted by the adopted building code. Portable or two temporary storage units, 200 square feet or less and not exceeding 1 story in height are exempt. And I'm like, yeah, but we banned portable and temporary storage elsewhere in the ordinance. So why we would say here portable or temporary storage is exempt from the building permit requirements when elsewhere we say those are prohibited. So I've talked to Riker, he's gonna look that up and see what's going on there.
Isn't we're at 400 square feet, not 200?
Oh, I have no idea. I thought it was 200. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
400.
It's 400? Okay, well, okay, so we'll circle that too and say, we'll ask him about that. But my main issue was the portable.
Right.
Portable or temporary storage, when we elsewhere in this code, we say that's prohibited.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, then on the very next page, which has pages 8 and 17 on the bottom corner. Under 6 prohibited uses, number C, I'm not sure I understand the language. This is prohibited uses. In residential zones, accessory structures shall not be used as dwelling units or for any commercial use except as follows. Short-term rental use expressly authorized under, and that's the short-term rental code. Okay, maybe now that I'm reading it and saying it out loud, I think I read it differently than I did earlier.
Yeah,
So maybe I don't have a
Yeah,
problem.
that's our short-term rental.
Yeah, I know it's a short
Overlay.
rental overlay,
Yeah.
but now that I'm reading it out loud, it comes across differently when I was just reading it. Okay,
Yeah, the only question I would have is, do we allow accessory structures in that overlay to be used as short-term rental? I'd have to go back
we'd
and
have
look
to go
at
back
code.
and look at that.
So it may not be, and that may be something we need to.
Yeah,
do.
because I even circled it and said, I'm gonna go look at. the code.
Yeah. Because if we don't allow it, why give somebody the impression that we
We
do?
do.
Sure.
And then the very last page on 9/18, under enforcement. Violations of this section are subject to enforcement under VMC chapter, and then it says enforcement/penalties chapter. And I said, is this something that's going to be drafted? And he said, yes. So that's to come. He said it's a placeholder for now. I said, all right. So do you guys have any questions on the accessory structure?
I had a question about the, on previous page 817,
Uh-huh.
building coverage.
Yeah.
10% of the total lot area nor 75% of the floor area of the main dwelling.
Shall not exceed 10% of the total area nor 75% of the floor area. The total area of the lot, of the parcel.
So an acre lot would be
45.
4,356 square feet. If you had a 3,000 square foot main dwelling on it, it would be 2,002. It's just confusing. I don't know.
Yes, there was
whether anyone
someplace,
else is confused
yeah,
by
there was
that, but-
someplace else in here where they had a really large size that I was like, what?
But it's nor, so is it whichever is greater, whichever is less? Does
Well,
that language
we'll
have
have
to be
to-
added to that?
I'll have to check it. Make a note there.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, Riker points out in his cover memo that there's a bit of a conflict between the 10% and the 75%
Yes.
and made some suggestions to the commission about that.
Oh, here it is, page 9/18, 9/18 in E, commercial zone and highway resort zone. Look at number 3. No accessory building shall exceed 3,600 square feet.
But that's commercial. The one previous was residential.
Residential, okay. Oh, yeah, I see, residential. Okay.
And then, do we need to put a cap on the number? Well, this does in the residential zone, that would put the cap on basically the number and size that you could do, but there's doesn't seem to be a cap in the commercial zone about how many or
How many accessory structures there could
Right.
be? Yeah, I
It
don't
would
see.
just be
Total square footage.
square footage.
That's a
So I
fair
suppose you can break
observation.
it up into different
Yeah.
structures, as long as they don't exceed a certain number. Of square footage.
That's all I have.
The one thing I don't see in here, and I thought this was something that was an issue oh no, this is an accessory structure, not a shed. Okay, never mind. My issue had to do with a definition of a shed. Okay. Anything else you guys want to talk about with the ordinances from planning commission?
I would just like to have Heath and Riker just make sure with the design standards, this does not go over from a residential livable space.
No,
You know where I'm going with that?
yes, yes.
I
and-
just want to make sure from Riker and Heath that is okay.
My understanding is this does not include like accessory dwelling units, because this is not to be livable space. That's
Totally
my
understand.
understanding.
But I just want to make
Right.
sure Riker and Heath address that. To have that clarified, making sure that no violations there.
Okay, and then if anything else? Okay, before we move on, the only other thing I was gonna say about last night at planning commission was that, the town council the planning commission voted to, table indefinitely the Good Neighbor Overlay Ordinance. And as Mark was saying, and as Paul probably will say, knowing how you guys are about Robert's Rules of Order, that to table indefinitely is an oxymoron, because the table means it comes back next month. And to table indefinitely means it can't come back next month. It's tabled until one day in the future.
Somebody
So-
brings it off the table,
So, I'm sorry?
until somebody votes to bring it off the table.
Exactly. And that is the concern, because the intent, that what was supposed to happen was that the ordinance was going to be, there was going to be an announcement that the ordinance was going to be dropped, and there was going to be no more work on it, and it was dead. And instead, there was this vote to table indefinitely. And so now the issue is, it's not dead, it's still there.
It's
And-
still gonna take 3 votes to get it off the table.
But can't we take it away from planning?
Yes, and that's- and kill it.
public hearing?
Yes, and that's what I'm thinking about doing. Is to take it away, is to pull it from planning and zoning and have us vote on it.
Explain why there's such an adverse feeling to have to take it off the table, kill it, burn it, bury it, and send it 100 miles away. I mean, the effect is the same. It's dead. It's not going to,
No,
come
that,
to
but
life.
see, that's the question is, does say tabling it indefinitely really mean it's dead?
well, even if you do all of that, there's nothing that prevents a future council to
Bring the
to
topic back up. of
bring the
course.
topic up or bring back the ordinance as is. So it
But if you
just,
bring it back a year from now, they could be in totally new planning commission, or a year and a half, 2 years from now. And they could say, you know what, we want to do this, and go find it
Okay.
and bring it back up and revive it and say, here, we
it
and
seems
start
like to
all
me,
over
we're
again.
shooting a dead horse, but that's just me.
That's what I want to find out.
Just wanna make sure the horse
Horse is
is
dead.
I want to make sure a horse is dead.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted. to
Looks like
bring-
you got 3.
Okay, well, I just wanted to bring it up
Okay.
instead, so that if this decision is made to bring it up and truly kill it, that you guys aren't like, what is this? And why is this on our agenda? Okay, so I haven't decided yet. I wanted to see what the feeling was here. So, okay. Okay, so that's about the ordinances from last night. So now we're on to item number 3, which is the Virgin Goods Cafe liquor license. And so we have a proposed resolution here, and then Paul sent an email with some his proposed changes. But what we're really voting on tonight is we're not voting on the resolution. What we have to first do is have a public hearing, and then more than 30 days after the public hearing, we vote on the
Right,
resolution.
right. So
Yeah.
now you got 30 days
So
to
we-
consider my
30 days.
changes. Yeah.
Exactly. We've got
Yeah.
30 days
Yeah.
to consider your changes.
Mark sent me that email and I said, well, at least I'm early this time.
Okay, so what we did, I made copies of your changes.
I did too, but if you got copies, fine, hand it out.
Okay.
I didn't see.
Well, he's
No,
gonna-
I
he
didn't-
Send it tomorrow.
I didn't send it to all the,
There's a,
because-
copy. Pass it down.
I don't want to violate, thank you,
Yeah.
state
Yeah.
law, so I send it to
Yeah.
Mark and I figure out
Yeah, it was
what to do.
sent to me and Crystal
So the stuff.
just before
underlined-
5 PM.
So the stuff underlined is what Paul has added or changed or whatever to the proposed ordinance that's in our packet.
And I can run quickly
go for
through,
it. Go
yeah.
for it.
What I was, the whole premise of this is I looked at the state law and if it's, and I assume from our past discussions, it's something that we want to support this business owner in. And we want to make sure we make it as best possible resolution that will go up to the commission, the Alcohol Beverage Services Commission, so they can make a decision. So I wanted to make sure we had all the elements in the statute in this resolution. So the first whereas is talking about the proximity requirements and under 32B-1-102.
Your change, you mean your first change.
The
Your first
first change, yeah, the second whereas, the first change, thank you. that, if you look at that section, the only applicable item that applies is E, which is a public park. So the other ones, public or private school doesn't apply, a church doesn't apply, private library doesn't apply, public playground doesn't apply. So the most one is a public park. So let's call it a public park. Get it out and open that this is a park because the statute allows us to make a recommendation to ignore the proximity requirements next to the public park. So we'll eliminate any issues as to what that is before the commission's eyes. The next item, third whereas, but my second change, the statute says the town must give written consent acknowledging and authorizing the restaurant's proximity to community location after conducting a public hearing. I just restate what that is. And then as you'll see, when we finally get down to what we resolve, the first one under paragraph 1, I change to say, providing the public an opportunity to comment on Virgin Goods location in the proximity of Pocketville Hollow. So that's in reference to 32B-1-202, parens 7, parens A, parens double I. Giving the public an opportunity to comment, statute says that, we said we did. Next one says the town acknowledges and authorize Virgin Goods proximity to Pocketville Hollow, a public park. Then again, that goes back to the requirement under 202, parens 7, parens A, parens 1, that says we must authorize and acknowledge the proximity of that public park next to that business. And then the third one says the town hereby gives its consent to the commission to issue an alcohol license to Virgin Goods. And that comes under the definition of consent of local authority under 32B-1-102B.
Okay.
So
These other things that you were reading off, these other code sections with parens, parens double I,
they're not in there. I'm just giving you where they are.
Okay, well, you said that so fast, I have no
Oh,
idea.
okay. If you just go to 32B-1-202 or 32B-1-102-24E,
Okay,
these citations in here will get you to the code provisions when you're looking at it.
okay. I've gone here to 102-24E. I've gone there to see
Yeah.
what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It took me all this time to get there and you were going on.
Well, there's going on.
So
I
I missed
didn't,
everything you said.
I could have went slower, but I didn't want to waste your time because I figure if you're like me, I hear all that and then I want to go look at it myself and
So-
take time.
Send me the
So-
sections you were referring to and then
Yeah,
we can look at it.
They're right here, but I'll be glad to do that.
No, I mean, the ones where you were talking about parens double I and all that, there's nothing in here. Where?
They're in this code.
The 32B-1-202,
Yes.
parens 7, parens.
Okay, but
Seven.
where does parens 7 parens on here? I don't see that.
Second whereas, third whereas, I mean, my second
Okay,
change.
Okay,
And,
okay.
and I just didn't put the A1, A2 on it.
okay.
So
fine.
that'll give you my thinking. You may have some other changes, but I wanted to give the council a chance to look at that. And so what it's really doing is saying, here's what the code says. This is what we're doing and the council or the commission can look at it and say, okay, you meet all the elements of
Okay.
our code.
I see it. I
Okay.
see it. Okay.
So that's my thought process. And
Okay, so all we're going
Whoops.
to be doing on Tuesday is holding the public hearing.
That's correct.
That is correct. Okay.
Mhm.
You think so? Okay. Well, they're all in that.
We have more?
We got plenty. Okay.
so what's our capacity for this room?
According
Fire
to the
code.
fire district, I have
One,
no idea.
100.
100? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've got 24 seats out there right now. And then there's some other seats back there that'll probably bring it to like 35 or 40, and then the rest of the chairs are in that closet.
I
back
don't
there.
think we'll get 100, but
Oh, okay. Okay, next thing.
I'll be glad to see good participation.
I hope so. Okay, next is item number 4, ordinance implementing the temporary ban on the discharge of fireworks. I only had one correction on the ordinance. And there's a place, it's, you guys are gonna say, good Lord, how picky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8th whereas says there is significant public lands. I believe it should say there are significant public lands from singular to plural.
Good catch.
That's my only change on this one. Otherwise, I'm good with it.
I'm wondering if some of our past ones have always said if. And
They
it's the
probably
first time we
did.
caught it.
Probably did. Any questions on that? Um, In the past, it's really just been about the 4th of July because we don't want people setting off fireworks. But I was reading it today going, well, we don't want people to set off fireworks ever. I mean, it should be a permanent ban as far as I'm concerned. It shouldn't be just for the 4th of July. It should be permanent. After this thing we just had from the wildland urban interface.
Yeah, no, they have no,
You know, and maybe we bring back an ordinance
After the 4th of July. is that
after
what
the
you're saying?
4th, because usually people set off fireworks at New Year's, but let's just do an ordinance banning fireworks
Period.
altogether.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Just eliminate temporary.
Well, this is a, well, we could.
It
This
stays,
It's an ordinance.
yeah, and the
It'd be
language
nice-
states that it stays in place unless it's lifted by the council with another
We
vote.
could say something
I
like that.
guess what I'm
That's
saying,
what it
That's what it
does
said.
say. So
what I,
prohibited until the ban is lifted by a vote of the council.
Oh,
That's
yes,
why I
there
was
is.
And
asking
and I'm
that
not
question.
sure,
The
you can
now
tell me
therefore-
what the practice has been in the past, but
I think in the past I felt like it was just over the 4th of July.
just over the 4th.
okay.
Yeah, my,
So this would stay in effect
It stayed,
until it was brought back and it,
Let's leave it.
okay.
yeah,
Okay.
my suggestion though is bring back and put a provision in our code that talks about fireworks.
Mhm.
So because nobody's going to look at this ordinance once we get past it and pass it. But if you have it in the code, they can go online and see that it's specifically banning fireworks.
But what Valerie was pointing out, in which is the title says an ordinance temporarily banning. Shouldn't we just change that word to permanently?
Yes, and then
And then down at this, where it says, is hereby immediately prohibited until this temporary ban, we should say this permanent ban is lifted by a proper vote. of the
Yeah.
town council. So the
I-
2 places where it says temporary, should
words.
just- this ordinance, yeah, it's not
My-
even temporary or.
And then
permanent,
I'm
it's just-
suggesting in addition to those changes, we bring back enacting a provision in our code, town code that bans fireworks.
Okay, so we're gonna delete the word temporarily in the title. And
You may have to look at the whereas,
I'm
let's see,
looking for
the
them.
4th whereas,
The 4th, 1, 2, 3, 4.
because it's specific to the winter of 2025 and spring of 2020.
But we could add another whereas that says,
Well, you could just change that one and say,
Yeah.
because conditions, weather and conditions are dry in general.
okay, instead of just referring to the winter and the spring
Right,
right
yes.
now, we could just say weather conditions are dry.
Yes.
And then on the next page where it says now therefore, where it says temporary prohibition, we should just say prohibition. Get rid of the word temporary.
Yes.
And then this temporary ban is just say this ban. Where it says until this temporary ban is lifted by a proper vote of the town council, delete the word temporary.
Mhm.
And then with that, then this ordinance is not temporary, it's
permanent
It's
until the
permanent.
town council decides that. we can-
Otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my only question, because this is new to me, is whether that's allowed under state statute, if you can permanently ban, and I don't know the answer to that question.
Riker's going to find out for us.
Or Heath, yeah,
We're giving him a lot of work.
yeah. So we'll confirm that.
Okay.
Gotcha. Right.
Okay, do we
Okay.
want to say, then do we, well, actually in the town code is where I guess we would write something that it eliminates it for,
That's what I was.
that's where,
concerned.
okay. That's where we would make that change about the three and refer to the 3 holidays. Is not in this, but in the ultimate ordinance where we amend the town code. Okay. All right. What are you looking up?
Nothing.
Oh, I thought maybe you were looking up what Crystal was referring to about the fireworks.
No, I was just trying to answer Mark's question to see if there's something specific that jumps out, but
Okay, all right.
I'm just doing it while we're moving.
While we're talking, okay.
We'll do some research.
What?
We'll research that.
Okay, so then we're on to number 5, item number 5. And on the public hearing notice that was published for Tuesday's public hearing, we actually did not list the Water Conservancy District rate increase on the public hearing notice. So this is actually going to get continued to July. Okay, so I just have here, we're going to continue this to the July meeting. But in the meantime, all it was doing was increasing the rates that we're passing along the rate increase from the Water Conservancy District. That's all this is. Okay.
If I may, Mayor, I'll
Yep.
add that even though we'll reschedule the hearing for July because of how we bill, we can still make it effective July 1st. So,
Because we don't bill until the end of the month.
correct.
So if we make it effective, even though our meeting's like July 15th, if we make it retroactively apply July 1st, it's going to be fine because we don't even do the bills to the end of the month. Okay. Item 6, proposed cemetery rate adjustments. And these were rate adjustments that were proposed by Carolyn. We talked about this at our March meeting. If you guys remember, Carolyn came and she presented, she has this page with the fees that she wants to raise our fees to, and then she included, she attached fees from neighboring cemeteries, so we could see that she was putting it in relation to, setting it right in line with the neighboring communities.
Can we go back just quickly to the water rate? Should we, so our water rate right now is $10 per 1,000 gallons?
Now here, if you look at this, it's $1.
$1, that's what I meant. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
$1.
if you look at this, all these did is they took our current rate and added 11 cents to it.
I was just wondering if we should clarify it. It says the district has approved an increase of 11 cents per 1,000 gallons, and then maybe we should say that that would make our rate $1.11 per 1,000 gallons.
Is this on the resolution?
Yes,
Where on the resolution?
just in the whereas.
Oh, in the whereases, yeah.
Just to make it clear, or the water rate adjustment is to raise it by 11 cents, but maybe it would be helpful to clarify it that then our rate would be $1.11.
Although our $1.11 goes from, yes, okay, I see.
We could attach
Just a suggestion.
structure to the ordinance.
Well, it's
Okay.
going to be attached. It
Yeah.
has to be attached to
Right.
the resolution.
Okay.
It has to be attached, but she just was saying that we should just amend the whereas to say, so the new rate will be $1.11.
But
Right.
it's not, so, yeah, but it's not always $1.11. I
No,
guess it
'cause
depends on
it-
how many gallons you're
Yes.
using. So,
We can put it in the body of the resolution.
Yes, you're taking these two.
Yep.
Just these two. because nothing else changed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful. So people understand that
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
that's what the
Mhm.
rate is.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that, but
No, but that's, it's good.
so we did talk about the cemetery fees and I think,
And I don't think we had any objection to them, but now it's coming to us. We had put it off because we had to have a public hearing to raise rates, to raise fees, you have to have a public hearing.
right.
And when it came to us in March, it wasn't set for public hearing. So
Mhm.
now it's set for public hearing for the thing that we already talked about.
Okay.
Okay, so I didn't know if anybody has any.
No, no.
No, I think,
So let's see what her resolution, what the resolution for the cemetery. Oh, no, that was in one resolution for both this and the other fees.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so now we're on to item 7, which is the proposed community development fees. And we also talked about those in March. So the resolution here shows all the cemetery fees that we were, I'm going to want you to go to, you don't have to do it yet, but in a minute, I'm going to want you to go to that site, that thing I had of when you share your screen, I want you to share the screen for that state code that I had pulled up. Okay. So the first page is just the first page of the resolution is just the fees for the cemetery, and the second page are fees for the community development fees. And I had, where's my question? Oh, my question's on page 3. So what we have here is what we talked about was encroachment fees, right-of-way permit, an encroachment permit and a right-of-way permit, and then some signs. The rest of this has to do with fees for the sign. So when we adopted the sign ordinance last year, that was adopted in 2025, 2025. We adopted the sign ordinance, and there's a section in there where it says fees, and it says, see the Virgin Town fee schedule. And meanwhile, we have no fees for any signs. So as was being said, people have been coming in to get signs and they're not having to pay any kind of fee or get a permit. They just get their sign because we don't have anything set up to charge them a fee. So this is trying to set up the fees based on what was in the sign code. Okay. So we've got, yeah, there it is. Ordinance 2025-06 was the ordinance that was the sign ordinance. So we've got fees for residential and so section A is residential and agricultural zone. Then section B is sign fees for commercial and resort zones. Section C is temporary event and community signs. And then the next page, section 4, and this is where I have question, is under administrative and enforcement fees. I had a couple of questions on this. And then I had some questions just overall, but before I ask my questions, what do you guys have any questions whatsoever about these community development fees? Because we've talked about the cemetery, now we're on to community development.
so where did these amounts come from?
Well, that was going to be my question. Is how did we come up with these numbers for the amount of the fees? And so this is where I want you to go to the code that I had pulled up. And hopefully your guys' screens are still working. Not that one. Oh, wait, yes, it is 904. Okay, yeah, it's this one. So if we go down to 5A, so wait, go back up. I want to read the title of this. So this says 102904 says limit on fees, requirement to itemize fees, appeal of fee, and then the provider of culinary and secondary water doesn't apply to us. So if we go down to section 5, this Section 5 says, oh my goodness, you're their monitors are going off. They're just flashing on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. Yeah, so you can see 5A says, if requested by an applicant who is charged a fee or an owner of a residential property upon which a fee is posed, the municipality shall provide an itemized fee statement to show the calculation method for each fee. And then it goes on to say in section C, a municipality shall establish a fee appeal process subject to the appeal authority. And I went and looked in our appeal authority chapter. And it's the things that are listed that go to the appeal authority, if somebody files an appeal, it does have an appeal is listed for fees, although it's referring to the previous code section that was 10.9A, which has now been changed to 10.20. So that has to be changed to reference the right state code now. But it talks about, it says here, if there is an appeal, it is to determine whether a fee reflects only the reasonable and estimated cost of regulation, processing application, issuing a permit, or delivering the service for which the applicant or owner paid the fee. The only time, we've only had one person or one developer ever appeal a fee. And it didn't really even go to the appeal authority. They just questioned the fee, and we went to the town engineer and talked to him about the fee. And ultimately complied with this person's objection to the fee he was being charged. And it was about impact fees. So it never did go to an appeal, but people can. And I was just worried about this new section with these new fees that we've not had before. And these fees are not excessive. I don't consider them excessive, but I just wanted us to be aware that this is in here. This code, this section is in there about people can question a fee and that we have to be able to show them how we came up with the fee. So. Okay.
Sounds fair.
So, so Shyla, how did you come up with these fees? Based on what? And tier, okay.
That you see, if it needed an engineering review or a zoning review, added in those calculations based on the maximum. And that pencil pretty much like with the 4 sign, the 2 or 3 sign applications, they've had like 2 or 3 plan reviews for
2 or 3 what?
2 or 3 plan reviews.
Oh, okay.
Where they submit any corrections needed, resubmit corrections needed. Just sharing and making sure that everything from dark sky ordinance to whatever is being followed. So, to me, it's on the lower tier. So that way we can justify the spend.
Okay, because yeah, as I said, I don't think any of these are excessive fees. Yeah, okay,
We can adjust accordingly later.
yeah. So my only questions that I had were on this last page, as I said, this section called administrative and enforcement fees. Wait,
Going back to the,
I know you are. Go back to, click that share button again.
you want the code still?
No. Show the participants. Oh, okay. All right. I thought I saw something, but I didn't. So you can get rid of that. Okay, so on the administrative and enforcement fees, my question has to do with these first 2 in the list, where it says permit renewal within 1 year and revision or resubmittal. And when I went to read the code, because you referred to the code section up here, these fees are adopted pursuant to Virgin Municipal Code 52.9.7 through 5212. I read that section And 52.9.7 talks about if you got your permit and you didn't do the sign within a year, that then you come in and you have to renew your permit, right? And I assume that's what this is,
It's part of it.
because otherwise I'm like, this implies that everybody has to come in and get a new permit every year.
So I
Like
probably,
you want a
I
business
probably,
license.
I probably need to revise it and add ICC code when it talks about like abandonment
Okay, the
suspended
ICC
yeah.
code probably,
for penalty.
to me, it should refer to what section of our town code we're talking about. The only reason is everybody else is gonna go, we don't have, where's the ICC code? Show me the ICC code, where if it's referring to our town code, they can go look it up.
Yeah, I should probably revise it and start adding ICC code because it's still law when
So
it,
what
yeah.
does the ICC code say? That everybody has to come in and renew their permit every year for a
It's-
sign?
Not necessarily a sign, but if it's abandoned, if it hasn't been worked on for 180 days, these are just small things that if they abandon and have to reapply, that there will be a fee associated with it. It won't be the full fee,
Yeah, I think it's
Potentially.
half,
Yeah,
50% of the original fee.
50%, or it could be waived by the building official and or zoning administrator. It's just there as a blanket, just in case, because recently we had an applicant submit plans 3 or 4 times before even
Before what?
having a complete application. So
Okay.
it's just kind of a way to make it so that the overhead costs are being accounted for and people are.
Okay, that's fine. That, I don't need to know that. My question is, if I was reading this, I'd think I have to come in every year and renew my sign permit, just like you do a business license. And I know you don't have to do that. So that's why I was like, and then the next section that says revision or resubmittal. And I put, what is this? Because I understand if you're asking somebody to revise their sign. But when I read the code section, I didn't find the words revision or resubmittal anywhere in the sign code. So where is this coming from? That's why, that's all I want to know is what is this? Okay.
Yeah. But I'll make sure.
If it's a revision, because you said this one guy submitted his thing 4 times, 4 different designs. Yeah.
Today is like, do I need to resubmit? And we're like, no, don't stay here. Like, it's just if they decide to abandon and then resubmit later,
Okay.
there's a different fee associated, so they aren't being like,
Okay. I just wanted it where anybody reading the fee schedule is going to know what you're talking about. That's all I'm questioning, because I didn't find in the code where it talked about revision or resubmittal, but that sounds like that's just an administrative thing as opposed to a legislative where,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted it clear on the fee schedule so people would know what we're talking about. Okay.
And the idea is if they're resubmitting or renewing, we're going to have additional work potentially in that, especially if they change their plans a bit. So just recouping some of that additional work, that additional
Yeah.
cost.
And which is what Shyla said, and I understand that. I just wanted to know where in the code that came from.
Gotcha.
And if it's not in the code, if it's just an administrative, and it sounds like it's really administrative, it's not coming from the code.
Right.
Okay. You guys have any questions?
Are we more down the road, once this is adopted, do we envision like a start date? And from now on, are we going to go
It's gonna
back?
go from today forward.
No, I know, but are we going to go existing signs?
No,
Okay.
no. That'll be legally non-conforming signs according to the code.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So Shyla, did you check with other towns and cities around us and what their fees are? Are we kind of in the same ballpark?
it was hard to do a comparison because our sign ordinance is about 25 pages. So we couldn't really, it was hard to find a comparison when I came up with it. A lot of other sign fees are a little more straightforward. So I had to be very strategic when putting it together based off our sign ordinance. So we're a little different.
So are you guys good with this and we adopt the resolution on Tuesday? Okay. Next item is item 8, the resort tax increase. And we've talked before about, raising the resort tax by 1% or 0.1%, sorry. 0.1. And, we already charge 1%. So we're going to have a public hearing. This is just letting us know that we're going to have a public hearing in July, correct?
That is correct.
Good.
And that's the maximum we can go.
So yeah, thank you for the question. There are two different resort tax rates, if you will. There is up to 1.1%. I'm not sure why the town decided to make it 1% instead of 1.1. And then there's an additional 0.5%, and that additional requires an election,
Okay.
which will come forward with a proposal for that as well. But this last tenth of a percent can be levied by resolution.
Okay.
That's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then the last item on the agenda is the final budget adjustment. So Mark, I'm going to let you talk about that while I make my notes on everything else we've talked about. I just realized I haven't been making any notes about what we've talked about so far.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Well, it's near the end of the current fiscal year. And if you recall, we made budget adjustments in March, mid-year adjustments. I'll refer those to those as, and this would be our final adjustments. So the report that you see under actual year to date is 10 months. And what we've done is prorated that for the final 2 months, May and June of this year, to adjust both revenues and expenditures to balance the budget. On a high level, I've noted in my report that revenues are ahead of budgeted estimates by $245,000, so that is good news. On the expense side, for operations, we're looking at coming under budget by $289,000. That does not include the capital outlay, and as you know, we have a number of capital projects, and I'll just list those quickly, but we've got the groundwater study. We had the land purchase, which we made that adjustment in March. The town hall roof was budgeted separately from the remodel. We have the town hall remodel, and then we have the east water tank. So when you remove those capital projects, again, we're under budget by approximately $289,000 in our operations. With that, I'll answer any specific questions that you may have. I appreciated a call from Councilmember McKeon earlier today, and she had some questions, just making sure she understood the budget spreadsheet. Are there any questions?
Not for me.
I'm good.
So I went through this after we talked about it, and I just still can't figure out where these numbers are coming from. So I guess I'll have to get together with you.
Or Candace. Candace.
Yeah, happy to go through it with
Yeah.
individual council members.
The individual council members are not, did you say she should go over it with individual council members or? you?
No, I'm happy
Oh.
to go over it with
Okay.
individual council members.
Okay.
But, just a brief over. projected is something that April and I talked about a bit. You got to be careful because this program simply prorates it as if revenues and expenditures occur on a monthly basis, and they don't, like property taxes. The middle column, which says beginning budget, that's the adopted budget for FY '26. The next column, modified budget, that reflects the March mid-year adjustments that were made. And then the final column are the amendments that you will be making when you consider the budget resolution. I think one column, that second one from the right, is maybe throwing folks because it shows negative numbers there. That negative number is not the difference between the amended amount and the budgeted amount. It's between the amended amount and the year-to-date actual. So look at these as positive numbers. For example, under the sales and use tax, it has a negative 45,781. That's the difference between the end of the 10th month and what we're projecting 2 months later. So it's not a negative number in the sense that we're getting less money. We're actually budgeted to get that amount of money. So $45,781,000 over the next 2 months. That makes sense.
So I do understand that. We talked about that today, and I get that pretty clearly. But if we just look at that sales and use tax as an example, so we have the year-to-date current actual, and then we have the projected. And then, so how did that 277,000 for the amendments to the budget, like how was that arrived at? Based on the,
Right. So the projected shows, great question. The projected shows 252,000. The 277 comes from actuals from both 25 and 24. We actually received more than the 277,000. So
okay.
yeah, so
It's not like I can go in here and subtract something and get that value, or add something together and get
Right.
that amendment value.
right.
Those come
right.
from some previous historical data, and then you're
100%.
interpolating it into how we need to revise or
Yep.
reconcile our budget for this year.
That is correct.
Okay.
And so, the big three, that's my term. I don't know if it'll stick, but sales and use tax, transient room tax, and resort tax, those are our three biggest significant revenues. Candace and I spent a lot of time looking at our history and what the previous year's actuals were. And I'm not budgeting more than the amounts that we received, actuals that we received the 2 previous fiscal years. But for the resort tax, where I did add revenue for that 1/10%. I will say I didn't add revenue for the 0.5% because it's an election and we don't know what will happen. I'm
Yeah, but you're
cautiously
but
optimistic.
this is the final budget for this year. You're not adding the 1%, the 0.1%. That's in the budget that
No,
we
not-
already
not
adopted
this year.
last week,
Yeah.
last
No,
month.
I'm sorry. Maybe that was a confusing statement. I'm just trying to explain that, how I'm projecting both for this year and that 30,000 would be for next year, not this year. So
Okay.
sorry for the confusion.
So a lot of the values for our expenses, because those are pretty much actual expenses that we have. So those budget reconciliation number or amendments should be pretty accurate, just
Yeah.
based on what we are paying currently for our expenses.
That's correct. And what I did for some of the larger items in the general fund, for example, like contract labor and engineering and planning expense, I actually looked at detail reports to see what we had spent to date. And there were some things that are not reoccurring that would not continue for the next 2 months,
Oh,
for
I see.
example. So those are factored in there as well.
So like the attorney, it looks like we're actual to date was the 81,877. Our budget was 150,000, and you're just leaving that $150,000 as a amendment. I mean, we're not really changing anything from the budget.
No,
Okay,
no.
I think I understand it a
Because
little better now.
I'm predicting that we're going to be within budget, so didn't change that appropriation.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
But this was a labor between you and Candace. It wasn't you alone, right? It was you and Candace.
Me, Candace, I vetted these with her, and also Becky, our treasurer, was involved as well, and she was very helpful.
Yeah, I just was asking those questions, not because I saw anything that I thought, was a red flag or anything like
Sure.
that. It's just that I wanted to understand how we were coming up with these budget amendment numbers. So I
Sure.
think I understand that now.
Alright. And if you have any questions between now and
I do, but I'll
Tuesday.
talk to you about them later. I mean, I'll talk to you about them tomorrow, some that I'm looking at the amendments and it makes no sense. So this amendment column. So for example, just looking at attorney expenses, we budgeted $150,000. We've paid out 89. And so meanwhile, the amendment says $150,000. I'm like, why did we amend it to 150? We already had that in the budget in the first place a year ago. When we adopted the budget, we didn't amend anything on attorney expenses. It stayed 150.
that's just the way this program
Works.
populates.
Because then it also has for capital outlay new town hall, it has 160 in the amendment, yet it shows that we spent 172. So I'm like, okay, why is the amendment 160 and it was in the budget when we adopted it last year. Same thing with this attorney fee. I'm like, why is it showing these numbers as amendments when we adopted them a year ago and they haven't changed? Or the attorney fee hadn't changed, but the capital
Right.
outlay went over by 12,000. So.
Well, my understanding is that this is the actual program that we use to send the information to the state, and we're putting it in the form that they require.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I know it's hard to understand the state requirements for
yeah.
what
And,
goes.
and on the town hall, again, the 172, you're looking at the projected column. But
Well,
we,
actually, I know because I'm the one who did everything with the money for the new town hall, and I know we went over 160. I know we
well,
did.
so, yes, and so what, I had some of that reclassified to an existing line item that had
Oh.
funds in it to
Okay.
cover that additional expense.
Okay, got it.
That was where some of my confusion came from also, Mayor, but when I had spoken with him or Mark earlier, I had a better idea.
I wish that projected column was just gone because
Yeah,
so much
it's
time
part of the
it causes-
program, and it's
it's
misleading for,
It's wrong.
yeah.
And it's confusing because I know I've gone round and round with some of this with Becky about this projected to say, much like the property taxes, they're paid at one time and it's not just a continuous income over the course of the year. And so this projected is like, yeah, that's not right.
That would be the same thing with a project like the town hall.
Yeah.
We could have already paid for that 2 months ago. It's done, and then
yet
it's still
gonna say-
projecting it out
Yeah, that
too,
piece we're
so.
gonna
Right.
continue to
Yeah.
spend. It's like, no, we're not. We've already done that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the capital outlay for the town hall, for example, is the roof. And so that line item should only reflect the roof, not any other purchases. So other purchases are in the equipment outlay, so.
but yeah, it's like this one that I had pointed out before, the conditional use permit fee.
Yeah,
It keeps saying, oh, oh.
Every conditional use permit is $1,000. You can only need multiples of 1,000. And then they say, oh, I need 1,500. No.
and I'm gonna, and thank you for that, and you are correct. And I think we may have had a side discussion that we would pick that up in mid-year.
I'm sorry,
We would pick up that discrepancy in
in
mid-year.
the side discussion, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, with what you said, I'm not gonna, the questions that I had circled here that I was gonna come and talk to you about, I don't need to talk to you about because you
Okay.
just explained them. Okay.
Good.
All right, so if there's nothing else, then we can have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. All right. We are adjourned.